special topic. Tonight's topic is about wellness and self-care, something that we all could use a little bit more of. At this time, I will share this video with you.
Are we too busy? It seems like the culture is shouting, do more, get more, sleep less, and go faster. Overwhelm, noise, anxiety. Is this healthy? Maybe we need to slow down and calm down. And take a second to breathe. To be grateful. And to trust the process. No matter where we are or what we're doing, to take time to rest.
So how many of you guys can relate to this video? Please give me a show of hands if you feel like you can relate to this video. You feel like your life is just busy, 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 or maybe your daily schedule looks like this. On your calendar, you open up your calendar and that's what it says. Busy, 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 busy. You know, we live in a society where we have so many demands. Everything is just instant, we're constantly on the go. We never feel like we have enough time. How many of you guys would add a few extra hours in your day if you could? Right? I think that even if we had the ability to do that, it still wouldn't be enough time. We would somehow figure out a way to fill that time. How many of you can relate to this picture? How many of you call yourselves multitasking, where you're doing one thing and another thing, trying to do multiple things at one time? Or maybe you look a little bit more like this. You are taking care of home, you're cooking, you're cleaning, you're working, you're helping your kids with school. Your spouse may have demands. Maybe you have, you're in the care of taking care of your elderly parents or aging parents. And so there's just so many demands on you. I can relate to the zebra. I think it's stress. Yes. So often in our lives, we have an enormous amount of stress, and our bodies are telling us like something's going on here. You need to slow down just a little bit. So here it is. We have life, this thing called life. And in our lives, we have work, we have family, we have social life, we have all of these things, right? And so often we can even ask ourselves, is this what life is all about? Are we made to just be busy, busy, busy? Is there more to life than this? How do we get to this place where we can have work, family, social life, all of these things, and yet have a balance, right? I'm not sure about you, but this is definitely my life goal, to kind of figure out, how do we balance all of this? How do we get to that place where we can work and we can have fun, we can take care of ourselves, take care of other people, and still feel sane and have a little extra time at the end of the day? So the big question is, how do we do it? There's this big buzzword called self-care. I know that it's a word that many of us probably heard over the years, but exactly what is self-care? I want you to chime in. What is self-care to you? You can use your chat or you can unmute yourselves and speak out loud. What is self-care?
Hi, Shadena. This is Dina. I would say it's prioritizing, taking care, making time and doing those things that will improve the way that you feel physically, emotionally, spiritually, just put you in a better place.
Yeah, making time, prioritizing, doing things, looking at different domains of your life. Yes, someone put in the chat, focusing on you, making time for you, whatever that means. That's what we're here. We're here to learn a little bit more about what that means. Taking a way to take care of your needs and your wants. Absolutely. You guys are dead on with all of these things. So let's dive in a little bit more as to what self-care is all about. As mentioned earlier, self-care is about you taking care of yourself. The World Health Organization defines self-care as the ability of individuals, families, communities to promote health, prevent disease, maintain health, and to cope with illness and disability with or without the support of healthcare providers. Another definition, self-care is the individual practice of health management without the aid of a medical professional. In healthcare, self-care is any human regulatory function which is under individual control, deliberate, kind of goes back to being intentional, and self-initiated for the purpose of the maintenance of health and well-being. What self-care is not. So a lot of times when we think of self-care, we think of like, man, I need to have like all of this money. I need to schedule a spa day. I need to go on a weekend getaway. Yes, all those things are nice. That is not necessarily self-care. So self-care is not an indulgence. It is not selfish. Taking care of yourself doesn't mean that you are being selfish. Sometimes people will make you feel as though you are selfish because for one reason or the other, you may set boundaries with them. You may set aside some time for you and not give that time to them. Self-care is not a one-time experience. It's not that girl's trip that you took 10 years ago. While that was nice, self-care is something that needs to happen a little bit more often. Self-care is not time-consuming. There's actually studies that were done that shows that when you take the time to care for yourself, you actually become more productive in your your regular day-to-day life. Expensive. Self-care does not have to cost anything. It's okay if you want to splurge a little bit on yourself, but you don't necessarily need to. Self-care is not for the body only, okay? And self-care is not for women only. So that's something to keep in mind, men. Women will definitely, schedule a pedicure, manicure, but men, you too need to take care of yourselves. What is self-care? Self-care is meaningful and mindful, can be free or not. If you choose to spend a little money, that's okay. Self-care is ongoing and should be engaged in regularly. Self-care does not require a huge chunk of time. Self-care is self-loving. It's for the entire person. It's for everyone, again, for men too. Let's take a look at some different domains of life, domains of self-care. So we have the physical domain, we have the emotional, we have the psychological, we have the spiritual, the personal, and professional. And so we're going to take a look at these a little bit, and we're going to understand what they are and how do we actually take care of them, okay? So we're going to start with the physical. The physical domain is your physical health, which is definitely vital to your overall well-being. When we don't feel well, it impacts all of our lives, every part of our life, right? We don't just feel well in one area. It trickles over. So what are some ways that we can take care of our physical? We can eat healthy. We can exercise regularly. We can establish good sleeping habits. A lack of sleep is worse than, I heard that a lack of sleep is worse, driving while sleepy is worse than driving while drunk. I definitely do not promote either. So definitely get enough sleep. Take vacations, hold hands. Our hands are very sensitive. A lot of endings in our hands that allows connection to happen when we hold hands with someone. So hold hands. Schedule time off. Plan downtime. The next domain, oh, we have a little more, sorry. Schedule a massage. Take a relaxing bath, which is free. Seek out medical care. So often we have ailments and we ignore them. So it's so important that we look after ourselves and we get medical care. And not only do we get medical care, we follow through with recommendations and we follow up with regular checkups. So if your doctor makes recommendations for you to see a specialist, don't put that off. Go and see your specialist. Take care of you. The next domain is psychological. This involves being both happy and content with low levels of distress, having a good mental health, and having a quality of life, something that we all aim for. How do we take care of our psychological domain? We do something creative. We engage in relaxation, whether it's going to the park, we're gardening, taking a trip to the beach and relaxing. It's different things for different people. Read, journal. We learned a little bit earlier about the benefits of journaling. Take time to self-reflect. Focus on your positive qualities and strengths. So often we will focus on our deficiencies, and we need to focus on our strengths and positive qualities. Practice deep breathing and visualization, something that we've learned and done here. Seek professional help. There's nothing wrong with seeing a therapist. Join a support group. There's a support group for just about everything. If you are interested in a support group, I can definitely help find you one. The next domain is emotional self-care. Emotional self-care or emotional wellness can be described as understanding and being aware and comfortable with your feelings and being able to express emotions constructively, excuse me. Here is a feelings wheel. Feeling wheels are good because it helps you to really pinpoint what are you feeling. Yes, you may have anger, but what's under that anger? What's the hidden feeling? Are you feeling hurt? Are you hostile? Are you tired? Are you in pain? If you are feeling sad, are you sad because you're lonely? And so this allows you to break down your feelings and also helps you to pinpoint things that you can do about your feelings. So this is something that you can download online. It is definitely so rewarding to be in touch with your feelings. Being able to be in touch with them, being able to label them, and being able to share them. We can do some affirmations. In the emotional domain, taking care of yourself could involve crying. It can involve laughing. It can involve saying, I love you and meaning it, watching funny or heart-wrenching movies, finding a hobby, flirt if appropriate, buy yourself a present. This is not retail therapy. Sometimes people try and heal themselves through retail therapy. Sometimes that will leave you feeling even worse. Spend time with your pet, practice forgiveness, have self-compassion. So often we have compassion for others and not have compassion for ourselves. We too are human, just like our neighbors, just like our family and our friends. So we should definitely have self-compassion for ourselves as well. The next domain is the spiritual. Spiritual wellness will look different has different meanings for each of us. It is about having values and beliefs that provide meaning to you and having the opportunity and motivation to align your behavior to them. How do we take care of ourselves spiritually? We can meditate, study, pray, spend time in nature, such as watching sunsets, sunrises. Some people can appreciate practicing yoga, finding a spiritual mentor, volunteering for a cause that's close to your heart, connecting with a spiritual community or church. These are some ways that you can connect spiritually or take care of yourself spiritually. Personal domain. It includes being engaged intellectually and at a profound personal level in your actions, environments, social groups to promote growth and well-being. Are you being challenged? Do you feel cared for with those whom you associate with? Learn who you are, what you want out of life. Establish short and long-term goals. Make a vision board. I'm not sure if you guys have ever done one of these, but these are really powerful. Foster friendships. Take that extra mile, do things, spend time with your friends, go on dates, especially if you're married. Continue to cultivate that flame. Have lunch with a friend or dinner. Learn to relax. Some people in this world have a really hard time relaxing. They always, even if they don't actually have anything to do, they'll go and find something to do. One, just because they're not used to being able to just be still, sit still, and just relax. Write poetry, short stories, a book. Spend time with loved ones. Cook a new recipe. Learn to play an instrument. Take a class. Professional domain. This well-being is most likely related to your works and your studies. Are they leaving you feeling fulfilled? Are you growing? Are you learning? Are you making a meaningful contribution? How do we address that? Make time for lunch, take regular breaks. That's something that I'm definitely guilty of. I often will work through lunch. It's just so much easier just to kind of keep going sometimes, but there's true benefit to taking a lunch break. They give it to you, use it. Do not repeatedly work late. Some people will go to work super early and work late. There's always something to do at work. Learn to cut it off. Do not work during your off time. I work Monday through Friday, and sometimes I do find myself working on the weekend, a Sunday, trying to catch up on something, but definitely honor that. Do not work on your off time. Find a good mentor, someone who can help you to grow in your profession, or even just in general. Maybe you're looking to establish gainful employment. Maybe you can find someone that can help you maneuver different programs and get job trainings and so forth. Get support from colleagues, coworkers. Take mental health days. And sometimes this can be really challenging, especially if we take a day and we don't get paid. When we are hourly, sometimes it's really hard to take time off work, but it's definitely important. Learn to say no. There's so many different ways to say no, and we can definitely talk a little bit more about that if you want. Plan your current or next career. What do you want for you next? Learn, take a class, take a vacation, use your sick days if you have them. Set boundaries. Where does work start and where does it end? Okay, at this time, we're going to talk a little bit more about your own personal self-care. We're going to look at how you are doing at this moment. If you take a look in the chat, you will find an assessment. And I want you guys to open up that assessment. If you have paper and pencil nearby, please grab some, or the form itself should be fillable, so you should be able to type in it or write in it using your device. Does everyone see it?
Yes.
Okay. And so we're just going to take a moment. We're going to go over that together. We're just going to look at a few different areas of our lives. Can everyone see my screen? So this is an assessment tool. And so what we're going to do is that we're going to we're going to look at the physical, emotional, spiritual, and psychological areas of our lives. And so if it's something that you engage in frequently, you're going to put a 5. If it's something occasionally, you're going to put a 4. Rarely, you're going to put a 3. A 2 if you never do it, a 1 if it never occurred to you. Okay. So we're going to just look at these. Your physical care. Eat regularly. Do you eat regularly? Do you eat healthy? So maybe you do eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but is it healthy? Do you exercise? Get medical care for prevention. Get medical care when needed. Take time off. Get massages.
Excuse me, this is Dina. I don't see the assessment, and I see someone else doesn't see it either. I think it's Danielle doesn't see it either. Where did you say to find it?
It should be in the chat.
I didn't see it in the chat.
Let me just add it one more time. Thank you for letting me know. Sorry, I think I just sent the wrong one. I'm sorry. I think I sent it. Do you guys see it?
Yep, got it now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you dance? Do you swim? Walk, run, play, do sports? If you're married, do you take time to be sexual with your partner? Do you get enough sleep? Do you wear clothes you like, or do you wear clothes that are comfortable? I know in this pandemic, a lot of us have reverted to wearing leggings and sweatpants and so forth, things that are comfortable. So it's going to be interesting when I have to go back to work. Do you take days do you take day trips or mini vacations? What is something else that you do for your physical well-being? We'll take a look at emotional self-care. Do you spend time with others whose company you enjoy? So not just spending time with other people, but spending time with people you actually enjoy. Stay connected with important people in your life. Give yourself affirmations, praise, acknowledging the things that you do well. Love yourself. Reread favorite books or review favorite movies. Identify comforting activities, objects, people, relationship, places, and seek them out. Allow yourself to cry if you need to. Find things that make you laugh. Express your outrage on social issues. Play with kids. Anything else? Let's look at psychological care. Make time for reflection. Have your own personal psychotherapy. Write in a journal. There's that journaling again. Read literature that is unrelated to school. Let others know different aspects of you. Notice your inner experiences. Listen to your thoughts, judgments, beliefs, attitude, and feelings. So often we silence those things or we suppress those things. Engage your intelligence in a new era. Go to a museum, look at history items or exhibits. Go to a sporting event when it's clear and safe to do so. Practice receiving others. Be curious. Say no to extra responsibility things. So if you have a lot on your plate, even though you could do it, if it doesn't work for you at that moment, please feel free to say no. And don't allow yourself to feel guilty about saying no. Spiritual self-care. Make time for reflection. Spend time in nature. Find a spiritual connection or community. Be open to inspiration. Cherish your optimism and hope. Be aware of non-material aspects of life. Try at times not to be in charge or the expert. Be open to not knowing. Identify what is meaningful to you. Notice the place in your life, its place in your life. Have experiences of awe. Read inspirational literature. Listen to music or have talks. Okay, so this is just a little assessment just to kind of see where you are. If you have a lot of 5s and 4s, looks like you're doing pretty okay. If you got a lot of 3s, 2s, and 1s, then this is definitely an area for reassessing, like, what can I do different? And so we will get to that place where we will go and look like, what can I do next? Okay. We're going to continue. Any questions so far? Okay. And
Dana has
so,
her hand up.
does someone have a question?
Like Dana has her hand up, or is that from earlier?
Dina, do you have your hand up? You have a question? Okay, maybe not. So at this time, we're going to actually engage in a little self-care. So we're going to engage in a grounding and mindfulness activity. And I will also provide you with the sheet after we're done. And so what I want you to do is I want you to kind of get in a position where you're comfortable. It's totally safe to do this activity. Or if you're standing, cooking, or wherever you are, you can still do it. If you're driving, I probably wouldn't recommend doing it too much. But this is an activity that you can do. How many of you guys sometimes are just on autopilot and you are just going through the motions? And sometimes maybe you're driving, whether it's to work or to visit someone, and you're like, I'm here already. How did I even get here? I've been there and done that. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I just never been, like, I don't remember this trip at all. Sometimes we're so much on autopilot that our minds are just kind of running, going everywhere. This is an activity just to kind of help us to be present in the moment. So often we are not present. We are creatures who are just absolutely busy and thinking about the next thing. This activity will help us to be present in a moment and just allow us to forget about everything else. Okay. So what I want you to think about is that I want you to look around where you are in your space, and I want you to think about 5 things that you can see. And part of this activity does not allow you to repeat these things. You can't repeat the same items twice. Okay. So think about 5 things that you can see. If you want, you can just write them down on your paper, or you can just put them in the chat if you want. It's up to you. But write 5 things that you can see. Next, I want you to write 4 things that you can touch. And remember, they can't be the same. 4 things that you can touch. Next, I want you to write 3 things that you can hear. 3 things that you can hear. Next, I want you to write 2 things that you can smell. 2 things that you can smell. And lastly, 1 thing that you can taste. 1 thing that you can taste. Would anyone like to share? You don't necessarily have to share what you saw, what you heard, what you taste, but share a little bit about what that experience is like for you. If you want to, you're definitely welcome to share those things. Does anyone want to share?
So I was fine until the last 2.
Okay.
The smelling and the tasting, I'm not sure. So were we supposed to eat something or?
You don't
Cut a
necessarily
lemon or something?
Sure. So you don't necessarily have to. Thank you for bringing that up, DV.
Uh-huh.
You look at one, like what scents are around you. Do you have a scented lotion that you can smell? Like, do you have perfume on? Does your clothes smell of fabric softener or dryer sheets? Is someone burning a candle and you smell it? Maybe you smell smelly socks in your area, right?
Okay.
In terms of taste, taste can be a little hard. Like, do you taste water? Like, did you just finish drinking some water or chewing some gum or a mint or something, you know? Or is your dinner plate sitting right beside you and waiting for you to finish this program for you to eat? So you're like, you can taste that by just smelling it or something. So yeah. So sometimes the taste and the smell are a little more difficult. But the goal of this exercise is to help you forget about everything else and to help you to focus in the moment. How many of you were able to do that? Like, you didn't think about like that email that you had to get back to, or thinking about like, oh man, my child has soccer practice tomorrow. And sometimes, you know, even when it comes to taste, if we think about like chocolate cheesecake or red velvet cake, our mouth may start to like, you know, salivate a little bit and we might start to taste it just based on memory. Okay, does anyone else want to share? Okay, so I will give this to you at the end of our presentation as well. Our next activity, we're about practicing things. We want to get you in the habit of practicing. So we learned a little bit about journaling, the benefits of journaling a little earlier. To kind of review some of those benefits, Otto had mentioned that journaling takes us on a timeline, right? It allows us to do some time travel. You know, I definitely encourage individuals to date their entries. I've been doing journaling since I was a teenager, and love it. And I will date my journals. I'll go back from time to time to read them. And sometimes I'm like, where was I? What was I thinking? Like, what was happening in my life at that time? You know? But it just showed me like, okay, like Shadana, you were there, now you've grown a lot and you're here now, you know? Journaling allows you to be honest. You know, it's important that if you journal and you're brutally honest, find a sacred place to keep your journal. And looking at respecting other people's journals, right? Sometimes we may have come across someone like, oh, like this is my husband's journal, this is my wife's journal, my sisters or brothers or whomever. Don't read it. Like, those are their private thoughts, you know. Journaling is very, very beneficial. It's something that you can do. It doesn't really cost anything. You may purchase your own journal, or you can just find some scrap paper somewhere or a napkin or a tissue and write on that. You can use your phone. There's journaling apps that you can download. Journaling can happen morning, noon, or night. It gives you the opportunity to write out your thoughts, your feelings, whatever's bothering you. You can do journaling for gratitude. It can also be a good way to record memories. Maybe you lost a loved one. And this is a good way that you can kind of document like your favorite and fondest memories of them. Journaling is really, really helpful. Some people, it's not for everyone, right? Some people will try journaling and you're like, yeah, it's not for me, I don't like it. And that's okay. Journaling can be very beneficial when it comes to managing your recovery. It can help with your recovery. I know our overall focus is opiates and learning to kind of help bring about awareness and prevention. Journaling is something that can help with that. One, it can help you to be accountable, can be honest. You can document your triggers. You can even just talk about your process through journaling. So it can definitely be beneficial. So at this time, what I want us to do is I want us to kind of practice a little journaling. You can use your phones. You can, if you have paper and pen nearby, please use that as well. We will not be sharing our journal entries. So you can be as open and honest as you need to, or as you want. But I definitely want to encourage you to participate. Sometimes people are wondering like, well, what do I write about, right? So I'm going to take care of that for you tonight. So what we're going to do is that we are going to engage in this. So we're just going to take a few minutes. And so here are some questions that you can answer. How do I feel in this moment? What do I need more in my life at this time? This is one that I use a lot of times with kids, the kids that I work with. List 3 things that went right. And even with families, because sometimes parents are just so focused on everything that's going wrong with their child that they forget to highlight the things that are going well, the things that are going well. So list 3 things that went right today. That could be anything. That could be, man, my child sat down for 5 minutes, or I went to get ice and there was ice in the ice tray, right? Or I was able to take a hot shower despite my family having taken showers today, and I was the last one to get in. The water was still warm. So those are some things to kind of be mindful of. 3 things that you did well today. I made it to my meeting on time. So looking at those things like that. 3 things that you're grateful for today. When I went to the grocery store, I was rushing, and I'm thankful that I got a spot that was really close to the door. What are some things that you were thankful for? Were you able to check off some things on your to-do list? Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to play some soft music and just allow you guys to journal just for a few minutes. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Keep journaling. Would anyone like to share your experience? And it's okay if you don't.
Yeah, I think sometimes it was hard for me to find three things. So I
Mhm.
don't know if that number might be,
Sure.
is that a specific number? Because maybe that might
Yeah.
be discouraging for some people. Maybe they say they only had one thing that, went that way. So it's three significant.
Three is not significant. The more, of course, the better. If you're only able to find one, then focus on that one. The goal is to kind of get you to think about these things.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Good question. Anyone else?
I had a challenge trying to find three things that I did well because how do you gauge that? How do you measure it? Uh,
Sure. I think that's a good, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. No, that
I
was
was
it.
thinking like, this is for you to determine, right? You're the judge of that. So what
Hmm.
went well today? I got dressed in time. I didn't blow at the person who cut me off today in traffic.
Yeah. Hmm.
So it just takes a little creativity, takes a little time to kind of think about it. But what did you do well today? Yeah,
Well, I got to work and got home safely. I guess I drove safe.
sure,
And I
absolutely.
didn't forget things like my keys or my phone or.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Anyone else? Okay. So we are at the conclusion of our presentation for today on self-care. Um, this is just one area of self-care. Self-care can be like, we just couldn't cover everything in one sitting. There's so much to learn about self-care. The important thing is to evaluate where you are and start making little changes in your life daily, at least, a few minutes a day. It doesn't take much. Self-care, it's kind of like, it can be whatever it is that works for you to help you to feel better, that helps you on your wellness journey. For me, and I think I've shared this before, some personal things that I like to do for self-care. I really enjoy having my morning time for my devotion and prayer time. It's important to me to make my bed. Like, I love having my bed made. Simply not, it's not even about like having my room look nice and neat. It's about when I go to bed that my bed is nice and crisp and cool. And I love and appreciate that. So that's the main reason I like to make my bed in the mornings. And so that's self-care to me. Learning to say no, you know, not returning a phone call. If you don't have the energy to do so, it's okay to do that. It's okay not to take on that extra project at work if you don't have to. Um, so looking at little ways in your life, it is definitely no cookie cutter to self-care. It's all about what you desire and what your plan is. If you look at the assessment, on the bottom of the assessment, there is a plan. We're not going to do that together today, but it's definitely something that you can take your time to do later and develop your own self-care plan. What are some habits that you can start doing? You know, what are some practices? What are some obstacles that are getting in the way of that? Looking at ways to overcome those obstacles, those barriers. And so just giving yourself permission, starting with one thing at a time. Um, and because we believe in self-care so much, our team wants to gift each of you a journal. And so here are journals that we've purchased for your journey to self-care. If you would like one and you are not familiar or are not connected to the bridge as of yet, we can definitely mail you one. You can put your or your address in the chat, and you can send it directly to me. You can send a private message. So not everyone has your address. And we definitely want to help aid you in your journey to care. At this time, are there any questions?
Thank you, Dana. That was a great presentation. Why? What are some of the reasons why people don't take the time to care for themselves?
That's a really good question. I think sometimes we just don't have the time. We don't feel like we have the time or the resources. Maybe there's just a lack of knowledge, recognizing the little things that we can do. It could be like a lack of education, not knowing how to, or just feeling too tired that we just don't do it. And I think a lot of it does impact, like, you know, depends on a person's mental health sometimes as well.
I think about when you're on a plane and they tell you, make sure you put your own mask on before you get up someone else. A lot of times we try to fix other people's problems or issues and neglect ourselves. So
Absolutely. Yeah,
it
definitely.
would be nice to kind of take in mind that, hey, you know, if you can work on yourself, then you can help a lot more people.
Absolutely. We can't pour from an empty cup is another way of putting that too. Like we need to pour into ourselves so we can effectively pour into other people. And we can, you know, keep pouring and it'd be like that little drop and we're trying to tip it all the way over. But it's important to reset and refill ourselves so we can be the best version of ourselves for others as well. Yep. So there's a lot of benefit to taking care of ourselves. We're happier. The care that we give is a lot better. So, yeah. Anything else?
I think sometimes people feel guilty, or there's like a guilt about caring for themselves. It's something you should definitely do.
Yeah, absolutely. It goes back to that feeling of selfishness, where people figure that self-care is being selfish, and it's not. It's you taking care of you. You are that person who's most invested in you. So why not take care of you? Yep. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Thank you.
Thank you once again. That's thank you for the reminder. One of the things that I am habitually guilty of is not doing some self-care. And thanks for that, for some helpful tips and the moment to be able to reflect and start scheduling some of that for tomorrow. Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope that no one feels stressed out like now, oh my gosh, I have to practice self-care. You know, this is not what that was for. It's more just bringing awareness to where you are. So you're not getting to that point where you're burnt out. You're not having a mental breakdown or any of those things. We want to do some preventative things. So just find something simple and start there. It could be like making sure you get your 8 glasses of water a day, you know, making sure you bathe yourself, whatever it is, just practice some self-care. Getting enough sleep, that's a huge one for a lot of people. We're burning the candle on both ends sometimes. Waking up at 6 and not going to bed until after midnight, like that's not enough sleep. So just learning to just do little things. Any other questions?